let's be so clear. That is not your intuition that's talking. That is your trauma, that gut feeling, that the thing that you're following. It's actually more than likely a wound and not your wisdom. And we do this without even knowing it because we respond by all of the different things that we have in our life experience, and that is how we live, right? We live from what we have learned from our experiences. And so we show up in this way of looking at things through fear because we've been hurt or injured, with urgency because it has to happen, or maybe it will never happen, or you're going to lose it, or we withdraw. There's so many different aspects that are wrapped up into this. And it says something's wrong, you're not safe, you need to run. It's intense and it's loud, and that's your trauma. And it's speaking through your lived experience. And our intuition, on the other hand, is very grounded. Even when it says no, it's very familiar. There's not a lot of inner dialogue and resistance. There's not a lot of confusion with it. It's clear, it's still, it's not panicked, it's not defensive, it's not grasping. It is just this very known state. What can be really tricky about this too is there's this other version of us that will have a really clear idea, and we think we're really firm in it, and we think we're really picking a boundary, but guess what, that's your trauma too. And so that's the version of us that's like, hey, I'm not going to do that, or nobody tells me what to do, or I'm my true self, right? When you're having to declare that you're your true self, you're probably not really comfortable with what that is. The true self doesn't actually need to be defended, right? Who you are at its core doesn't need explaining. And so oftentimes we get into this space where we're over explaining, or we're putting our pitchforks in the sand, and we're sugarcoating it, and we're saying we're not doing that. And that we're saying that I'm just being my true self. Right? That is us speaking through trauma, fear, abandonment, rejection. Right? So it's really important to learn how to discern as part of your own healing, right? As part of this journey, as part of this understanding of who you are, so you can rebuild trust with your body, and you can begin to relearn the difference between truly a response that comes through your trauma and then a response that comes through your true self. And so this part that we're going to talk about a lot today is about healing isn't just about hearing yourself. It's about knowing who's talking. So I heard this the other day, and I can't remember who said it. And he was like, I got 40 people in my head. It's like a crowd up there. I can't trust that, basically. And so it's this idea that we have all of these different versions. And do you know what versions those are? They're all the versions that we created of ourselves. Like this person who needed to withdraw because it was unsafe to speak up. And maybe that was true at the time. Maybe it was unsafe physically or emotionally for you to speak up. So you created a version of you in your head that was built from the trauma response to what was happening in your external world. Right? So we have all of these different characters in our life, different characters that we've played, different roles that we've shown up in, different protections that we've built, different identities that we've lived through. And it becomes really hard to discern and know who's talking, what part of me is talking. It is one of the things that is actually kind of, we'll look at it like, let's just spin this. It is kind of exciting, right? We get to say, oh, some of this isn't true. We talk about this all the time. Like, what happens in your brain isn't always true. Your thoughts, typically not true. They're developed as protection from what you experience. So how do we move through it, and how do we listen? So when we start to listen to that true voice, right? That one that says yes, you're going to start to see a contrast. So we'll listen to the false voice first and understand what that looks like. So the false voice, or the voice that we created, this happens when we say our mouth is saying yes, but our chest is tightening. We're feeling really restrictive. We're feeling that gut punch. We're really feeling like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, but I have to say yes. It's from fear. It's from urgency. There's a story that's attached to it, right? So you agree quickly, and then you immediately regret that, where it's like, oh, but I didn't need to do that, right? Or you feel subtly resentful, but you're really being chill about it. You're like, why am I always the one that has to do this? Nobody else does this, right? There's so many stories that get wrapped up into this. And then the big thing is that you're really second guessing the absolute hell out of it for hours or even days after. right? I know this has to sound familiar. So this is all of our yeses or even our nos, but we're talking about it kind of that yes. It's that voice. How do we discern that voice from the true voice within us? Like that deep self, that one that's not shaken, that's not rattled, that literally nothing can hurt. No physical, emotional, nothing in the external world can touch it, right? That's the voice we're looking for, that true guidance, right? That's what everyone's looking for. That's what we're all trying to listen to within our own self. So that true voice, right? That true yes within you. There's a contrast between that false voice and the true voice. The false voice, again, made up of all the external, all the fears, all the identities, all the protections that you've had to have. But what we're doing is we need to recognize, we need to train our voice, our body to respond to our true voice, our true yes, our true self. So we're teaching our body to recognize that. And so when you start to really listen and feel this, you're gonna start to somatically feel it, if you will. So your breath begins to deepen. It feels really calm. Your shoulders may drop. You may feel like a physical like sensation release. You feel open, but this doesn't mean that you're not nervous. This is where people get a little confused, because you can still be nervous as hell about this, because guess what? You're doing something different. You're trying something new that you haven't done before. You're saying yes in a way, and you're going against your natural pattern. So there will be some somatic feeling, like a little bit of like uneasiness, and there's going to be that maybe a tightness in your chest as well, but the texture and the energy is different. I promise you'll be able to feel it, and you'll start to recognize it more, because there's no mental tug of war. It's not should I, shouldn't I, oh my gosh, what will they think? That's not there. All of those things that really hold us down, and those really that true self sense, it's not there. The biggest difference is that yes, that true voice may feel a little edgy, a little uncomfortable, may push you right up to that edge, but it doesn't feel confusing. Because when you really think about that in your life, and you think about the times that like you've listened to that voice that was created from your trauma and everything else that's happened to you, and other people telling you who you are or who you shouldn't be, right? There was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of resistance. There was a lot of contraction. There was a lot of to that. But when you've really made a decision based off of that true self, that true yes, you weren't confused. You knew exactly what you needed to do. So there's a couple of things. I want to give you some tools so you can actually like really listen to this and really be guided by this. And that's the 3-second rule. And so that's just really giving yourself a pause. Like just pause before you react, before you say yes. The pause itself is enough oftentimes to interrupt and override that loop in and of itself. So just give yourself a break. Like before you say yes, before you say no, before you do anything, 3 seconds. That's all you need. Right? And then check in with your body. How do I feel? What's coming up? Is this the decision that I wanted to make? And you can even keep track of that along the way. That's completely up to you. But feel the sensations in your body. Was your chest really tight? Did you collapse? Was it like your breath shallow? Like really check in with yourself. What were the patterns? And then also, what were the beliefs that you attached to them? Right? So when we're checking in with ourselves, we're also checking in with, what do we feel? What does that look like? What did I make it mean about me? That's that power. That's what we're doing, right? Am I giving this reaction? Am I now giving my trauma more space to run? Or can I sit with it? Because that version of you that always says yes, the one who chameleons to keep the peace, to never let anyone down, to always show up, to always be liked, to always be heard, to always be this, to always be that, that version of you was created because it felt safer. And it felt safer than being misunderstood or rejected. These spaces that your trauma was created from, to help you physically not live that anymore. But it's not the safety that you need. Your true self is fine. You have to listen to it. You have to understand it. And when you hear it, you're going to start to experience life totally differently. So you're not just learning how you can begin to hear yourself. You're actually learning how you can trust what you hear, which is what most people lack the most. Right? So do this work. See what this does for you. I would love to know. Drop it in the comments. What did you discover? Were you able to hear your true self clearer? Let me know.